What happens when one of Britain's most beloved actors walks onto a morning talk show and gets blindsided by a host who refuses to show basic respect? In just 43 seconds, a simple question turns into the most uncomfortable moment in daytime television history. And it only takes one comment from Lorraine Kelly to send everything spiraling out of control. Colin Firth arrived at the studio that morning expecting a standard promotional interview. He had a new film to discuss, a project he was genuinely excited about, and Lorraine Kelly's show seemed like the perfect platform. Friendly, casual, light conversation, the kind that audiences loved. But from the moment he sat on the bright orange sofa, the air felt different, tense, charged. There was something in Lorraine's eyes, a sharpness that made him instinctively sit a little straighter. Sitting beside Lorraine were Ross King, the entertainment correspondent, and Christine Lampard, a frequent co-host. Both seemed relaxed, expecting another routine chat. Lorraine started with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Colin Firth, everyone. Lovely to have you here. Finally. The word finally hung heavily in the air, loaded with judgment, as if Colin owed her attendance, as if he'd wronged her somehow. Colin maintained his composure. Thank you for having me, Lorraine. Happy to be here. Lorraine's smile sharpened. Are you though? Because your people made it clear you weren't interested in coming on this show for the longest time. Ross tried to intervene. Well, he's here now. That's what matters. Colin, tell us about your film. But Lorraine leaned forward, ignoring him. I'm curious, Colin. What changed your mind? Did your film not get enough interest from the bigger shows? The audience went quiet. Christine's eyes widened, and she nervously glanced between Lorraine and Colin. The room's warm, morning glow had vanished. Colin took a careful breath. I don't think that's entirely fair. I've been busy with filming schedules. It's not personal. Oh, it feels personal, Lorraine said, leaning back with crossed arms. When someone of your caliber consistently turns down invitations to a show that's been on air for decades, it sends a message. Christine interjected gently. Lorraine, let's focus on the film. Colin's here to share something exciting with the viewers. Lorraine waved her hand dismissively. We'll get to that. First, let's address the elephant in the room. You know, Colin, some of us have built our careers on being accessible, on connecting with real people. Not everyone can afford to be so selective. Colin's jaw tightened. I'm not sure what you're implying. I'm saying it outright, Lorraine's voice sharpened. There's a certain arrogance that comes with fame, wouldn't you say? A feeling that some shows are beneath you. Ross tried again to smooth things over. Colin's one of the. Christine looked genuinely uncomfortable. The morning chat had instantly become a minefield. No, we're not taking a break, Lorraine snapped. This is my show, and we're having a real conversation for once. I'm tired of these celebrity interviews, where we just throw softball questions and pretend everything is perfect. Colin's patience was visibly wearing thin. There's a difference between asking tough questions and being outright disrespectful. Right now, you're crossing a line. Lorraine laughed, but it was cold. Oh, I'm crossing a line. That's rich coming from someone who's spent his career playing posh characters and looking down on everyone else. The audience gasped. The bright, cheerful morning had suddenly become hostile. Ross King looked like he wished he could disappear into the sofa cushions. Christine tried to calm Lorraine by placing a hand on her arm, but Lorraine shook her off, determined to continue. You don't know anything about me, Colin said quietly, but firmly. You've made assumptions based on gossip and your own prejudices. Prejudices? Lorraine's voice rose. I'll tell you what's prejudiced, assuming a morning talk show isn't worthy of your time. Treating the people who work here like second-class citizens. I've never treated anyone that way, Colin said, standing his ground. And frankly, Lorraine, if this is how you treat your guests, I'm not surprised people might hesitate to come on your show. Lorraine stood, her voice louder now. Are you seriously sitting here insulting me? I'm defending myself against your attacks, Colin replied. You invited me to discuss my work, yet you've spent the entire time hurling accusations and insults. Ross tried one last time. Let's take a breath here, everyone. This has gotten out of hand. But Lorraine was unstoppable. You think you're better than everyone else. You walk around with that superior attitude, that stuffy British reserve, acting like royalty. Colin's voice rose in uncharacteristic firmness. You seem to have a massive chip on your shoulder. I don't know what I've done to deserve this. but I won't be your punching bag for a personal crisis you're projecting." The words hit Lorraine like a slap. Her face flushed red, her composure cracking. Christine's mouth fell open in shock. Ross looked completely mortified. The audience sat stunned. The tension was almost unbearable. "You've done nothing but attack me from the moment I sat down. You question my character, my professionalism, spread rumors. And when I defend myself, you act like I'm unreasonable." Colin continued, voice steady but firm. "Get out," Lorraine yelled suddenly. The room froze. "Christy." The audience sat in stunned silence. Ross and Christine looked miserable. Colin's composure, his quiet dignity, contrasted sharply with Lorraine's unraveling behavior. "You talk about connecting with real people," Colin said. "But what you've done here shows you're more interested in creating drama than meaningful conversation. You've embarrassed yourself, your show, and your colleagues." Colin Firth stood tall, his voice calm, but carrying an unmistakable authority. "These two," he gestured toward Ross and Christine, "both visibly uncomfortable, have tried repeatedly to salvage this interview, to bring it back on track, but you were determined to make it ugly from the start. I genuinely hope you figure out whatever is driving this bitterness, because this isn't the person viewers fell in love with over the years." Lorraine's hands trembled slightly. Her face, once composed and commanding, now reflected shock and anger. "I said, get out," she spat. "I'm going," Colin said evenly. But before leaving, he turned to address the audience directly. "You all deserve better than this. You deserve a host who treats guests with respect, who fosters engaging conversations, not someone who ambushes people for ratings." The silence in the studio was deafening. Cameras continued rolling, capturing every second of the disaster. Ross King's head hung low, Christine's eyes filled with disbelief and tears. It was clear no one had expected the situation to escalate this far. Colin walked toward the exit, microphone still attached. A crew member rushed forward to unhook it, but Colin waved them off. "I'll bring it back," he said softly, almost reassuringly. Then he turned back one last time to face Lorraine. "You had a chance to have a great interview today," he continued. "We could have talked about the film, the craft of acting, anything meaningful. Instead, you chose this path. I hope it was worth it." And with that, Colin Firth walked off the Lorraine Kelly show set. Behind him, the studio was frozen in shock. Lorraine stood speechless, Christine covering her mouth with both hands. Ross staring at the floor in disbelief. The cameras kept rolling, showing Lorraine alone on the sofa. Her composure shattered. "Let's go to commercial," Lorraine finally muttered, her voice barely above a whisper. But the damage was done. The audience was silent, murmuring, unsure whether to laugh, gasp, or shake their heads in disbelief. The warm, lively energy of a morning talk show had evaporated entirely. Backstage, Colin had already begun packing his things. His phone buzzed incessantly, messages, calls, but he ignored them all, focusing only on maintaining his calm. A makeup artist knocked softly. "Mr. Firth, I just wanted to say, everyone back here thinks you handled that brilliantly. We're all sorry about how Lorraine treated you." Colin smiled kindly. "Thank you. That means a lot. It's not your fault. You all do amazing work. This isn't a reflection on any of you." Meanwhile, in her dressing room, Lorraine sat staring at her reflection. Her once perfect makeup was smudged. Colin, meanwhile, remained calm in the back of a car, watching London pass by. He had done nothing wrong, defended himself with grace, and left the hostile environment on his terms. Lorraine's meltdown had been broadcast for everyone to see, and the contrast between the two was undeniable. By the time the show wrapped, Colin Firth had already left the building. He slipped out a side entrance, avoiding the cameras waiting outside, and let the cool London air hit his face. He felt a surprising calm settle over him. He had done nothing wrong. Every accusation, every insult, had been met with dignity and professionalism. His composure contrasted sharply with the chaos he'd just left behind. Back on set, Lorraine Kelly attempted to regain her usual poise, but it was clear something had shifted. She tried to move on to other segments. Yet the energy in the studio was irreparably altered. The audience remained silent, murmuring among themselves. Ross King and Christine Lampard went through the motions, but the sparkle had gone from their demeanor. Every few minutes, Lorraine tried to justify her actions. "Celebrities need to be held accountable," she muttered. "Or, We can't let people act superior. But each justification only made her misstep more glaring. Christine and Ross had stopped attempting to shield her from criticism. They knew the audience had already made up their minds. Colin's grace under fire had made Lorraine's behavior look even worse. Even crew members who had spent years in live television whispered in stunned tones, replaying the interaction in disbelief. Meanwhile, Colin's phone continued to buzz with messages of support. His agent texted simply, "You handled that perfectly." He responded with a quiet smile. He thought about how absurd it was that a morning talk show, something meant to be lighthearted and pleasant, had turned into a public display of unprofessionalism. But he didn't feel anger or frustration, only relief that he had stayed true to himself. Lorraine, alone in her dressing room, stared at herself in the mirror. Her bright, professional exterior had crumbled, revealing raw frustration, shame, and disbelief. Her phone rang again, this time from producers, but she ignored it. Words could not undo what had already been broadcast. The confident host who had entertained viewers for years had revealed a side no one wanted to see. Social media erupted within minutes of the incident. Clips went viral, hashtags trended, and discussion forums exploded with opinions. The public consensus was overwhelmingly in Colin's favor. He had been respectful, articulate, and poised in a situation designed to provoke hostility. Lorraine's actions, on the other hand, became the focus of criticism, debate, and ridicule. Colin, meanwhile, sat quietly in the back of a car, watching the city pass by. He reflected on what had happened and felt something almost like pity for Lorraine. Whatever personal demons or frustrations had caused her to lash out. In the end, Colin walked away not just from a show, but from an unnecessary conflict, demonstrating to viewers everywhere the power of staying calm, standing firm, and knowing your worth. Lorraine's meltdown had left a mark, one that audiences would not forget anytime soon.